Hello, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. こんばんは。じゃなくておはようございます。皆さんおはようございます。Sashikoライブやっていこうと思います。英語版です。日本語版は今日の日本時間の夜の10時半ぐらいにもう一回入り直します。よろしくお願いします。This is the Sashiko Live Streaming in English, and I hope you can bring something to work on, and probably stitching or even knitting, anything is fine. I just want to make this place, this time as the time to spend together, to stitch together, to be together. So this is the Sashiko live streaming where I do Sashiko stitching while talking about Sashiko. Sakura. Just a second, okay, I will check the audio. Sorry. Okay, this sounds good. I did not bring any specific topic today. I will talk about how difficult it is to talk about how difficult it is to explain what Sashiko is in English. But besides that, I did not bring any specific topics. Sorry, I did not bring any specific topics. So if you have any request for me to talk about Sashiko, I may be able to do that. I will move to the stitching video. Sakura, if you're gonna be here, can you say hello to everybody? Meow. Say meow. Okay. I will switch the camera to stitching. All right, I hope the mic is on. Mic is okay. Whew. I'm sorry about the last week. Hello, Lily-san, konnichiwa. Hello, thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry about the last week. I was in actually Charlotte in South Carolina. Yeah, I believe it's South Carolina. And I was waiting for the flight to come back to the Pennsylvania, but flight got delayed by 3 or 4 hours, not because of the plane or any specific weather issues. They did not have enough pilot and also the flight attendants. That's how they delayed our flight by a few hours. It was pretty scary because if I were late by 2 more hours, I wouldn't probably be able to back to here because of the freezing rain that night. So, I'm glad that I could come back. But at the same time, I'm sorry that I couldn't do the almost every Thursday Sashiko live streaming. And I cannot do it next week. I will be in Phoenix in next week. So I won't be able to do it any live streaming in next week. So I apologize for that first. I hope I can do something similar from Phoenix, but probably not. I'll be I often think that I can do something while I am in the workshop because I have to only focus, technically speaking, I have to only focus on the specific hours. If when it's say 9 to 4:30, those hours are my responsibility, but after that I should be able to make myself free, but usually I am not, so I'm not gonna promise anything. So today is gonna be what we're going to live. Today is the live streaming, and next week is gonna be another skip, and then we will come back starting from the 4th week of February. I just want to make sure to have this kind of space as periodically as possible so we can always come back. しのぶさんありがとうございます。Hello, hello. As I said in the beginning, I did not bring any specific topic besides the fact that it is very difficult to talk. Not a talk, it is very difficult to explain what Sashiko is or what Boro is. It is natural for. I understand it is not natural, but I understand that I receive so many questions or requests to explain what Sashiko is, what Boro is. And I believe I try my best, but at the same time, it is almost impossible to explain logically because that does not explain the whole. I was watching, I was talking to somebody who does the Japanese, not a martial art, Budo. Budo is not equal to martial art in my brain, but there are, I have a friend who is pretty into it, not into it, he's experienced, and I was kind of, not complaining, I was not complaining. How do you call those things? Not a whining, but I was complaining that it is so difficult to explain what Sashiko is, but the request from the market or audience is always about the very short, clear, specific, and easy to understand answer. I wish I could offer that, but some of the Japanese culture, including that Budo, we gotta try it. We have to kind of try that first, and then we can start talking about it. So one, I'm not trying to be mean or I'm trying to be arrogant. It is just the truth that in order to understand what it is, one has to actually practice it. Then we can deepen it from there. We can investigate, not even, we can enrich that experience with some of the stories or logic. But one of the time I got a lot of got involved in the big discussion or argument is that there was one person who kept asking me for the definition or explanation or answer for the Sashiko and Boro. And I kept saying, please try it first. You gotta try it first, otherwise my explanation doesn't make sense. She took it that I'm being arrogant, I guess. That's how I started learning about the cultural appropriation. Since she intentionally ignored the Sashiko is the cultural practice, therefore it requires some understanding of the Japanese culture. I felt strange. I did not feel pain or anything for the first time, but I felt very strange, and then I started learning that. But yeah, I do of course explain. In my workshop, I explain that logically. In the logic-wise, I use the logic to explain, of course, to teach, because in order to teach, you have to have a logic. But many people seems to understand logically in their brain, but they cannot do it because they need some time or practice to fill those gaps. Understanding and doing, there's a little bit, not a little bit, there's a pretty huge gap between that. And the reason I do not want to do that, I do not want to offer so easy, specified, simple, instant answer is that I don't have that ability or I don't have that opportunity to fill those gaps because I won't be able to see somebody stitching. I cannot see the people stitching when I offer that in public like this. In the class, I can offer that. I will offer the specific personal attention so I can make sure that the person has enough materials, enough information, enough way to practice to fill those gaps. But it really requires doing it to understand what Sashiko really is. So I hope you can try it. It's not about making perfect stitch. It's not about mending. It's not only about making even stitches. The core of Sashiko is not there, so I hope you can learn that and fill those gaps. By the way, for me, I don't know if this makes sense to you, anybody who is listening to this, but for me, logical thinking or logical explanation and crafting or even art, if somebody called this Sashiko the art, I do not connect art and logics very well. It's kind of mutually exclusive for me. So logic is something to organize or place the matter or process in the order which everybody shares based on the expectation or based on the understanding we share. It's kind of a rough explanation, but the chess is very logical because we all know how each player can move. But for somebody who does art or who does completely different outside of the box, they don't really care about those they enjoy chess without the rules. Like kid, my daughter probably enjoyed just swinging those players instead of following the chess rule. In Western culture, when I teach Sashiko, many people speak for the art in the logic. They expect the culture to have the answers, which is logic, and they say that they can do whatever they want because it's art. So their freedom of choice is not really a freedom of choice. It's more like a asking for recognition freedom. Or worst case scenario, it's just the excuse to not to face it. So we all speak for the freedom, but freedom will never happen when we don't know what it is like to not to have the freedom. And many people say we don't like rules, but we have to have a rule to enjoy we have to have the rules to enjoy the non-rule freedom. It seems like all of the instant answers are changing our expectation, and it's a little difficult. It's not bad. It's not good or bad. It's just how this society moves. But asking for a logical explanation of what Sashiko is in the society where we speak for the freedom is kind of strange. Don't you think? Probably not, but just because we do not sometimes have a logic behind the culture, the Japanese people often share some expectations, especially those who are pretty old, elderly people. I cannot talk on the younger generation's behalf because I'm not part of it and I don't know it. But since we have certain expectation together, we don't really have to define, we don't even have to describe what it is. And that's kind of the communication behind the word. That's the that's a beautiful part of learning something cross-culturally. It is important to learn how to do Sashiko stitching, but the most delicious part of the Sashiko stitching, learning Sashiko stitching is not there. I think understanding the expectations that we carried is gonna make one's Sashiko more enjoyable, which means more delicious. So, I'm sharing a lot of information, not information, a lot of stories here. I can only share the stories here, so that each stories become each stories form a very vague figure of what Sashiko is, and one day you can find what Sashiko is by yourself. I just don't want you to just follow the definition I came out. It is not wrong. Like, my definition is not wrong. It's all true, but it's not the whole for everybody else. So yeah, that's the Sashiko we are practicing. No matter how much we are required or in demand, or how less we are in demand, we have been stitching and we will be stitching. I guess what I do is not so necessary in this society. I'm not an engineer to make a big innovation, or I'm not a doctor who saved the people's life. My wife is the psychologist, clinical psychologist. So she saves people's life day by day. So I'm not that kind of person. My work itself is not, that important. But at the same time, I think somebody gotta do it. Unfortunately, not many Japanese have done this work for last, few hundred years. We can probably find something similar, but it was not in the social media. It was more like in the book. This society, we have to be sort of fast, while although I'm sharing how slow it can be. So it's really contradictory, but I have to learn how to be fast in order to share what slow is. Oi, oi. I'm not talking about philosophy, by the way. I'm just talking about how ambivalent the Japanese culture can be. And it is extremely difficult to explain that in English, because that language itself does not have the ability to explain in between lines. I think English is a very good language to communicate over different culture. We try to eliminate the possibility of misunderstanding as much as we can by defining who is doing what and when, how. So without that, the English becomes something very immature. But in Japanese, when we talk in Japanese, we kind of have to use our imagination based on the situation. And those imagination is not something we have to train, but it's something we get it from the everyday life, which is probably we call expectations each other. So, and the Sashiko is the very much the result of those expectations. It is quite difficult, but but it's not impossible. I keep saying it's difficult, but it's not impossible to share what Sashiko really is for me. And the reason I keep saying is that, I've seen many people who probably share my understanding of Sashiko too. By the way, is my voice on? It's on, right? It should be on. It's very quiet here today. I mean, a comment, so I'm talking to myself, kind of. I'm mumbling. I'm mumbling. If there's any questions, please let me know. I mean, not any questions. I'm not gonna talk about this technical stuff as I explained. It's scary for me to just share one thing and then let the students to fulfill the gap by themselves without me making sure that. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. So this is the Sashiko Live Streaming where I share everything unedited. This is me just stitching over the camera in the Pennsylvania, USA on time, real time. So I cannot change any of this. It's the no fast forward, no slow motion, no hiding anything, no editing, just me stitching here. So you probably can learn a lot from just watching it. And that's what I kind of no, that's not what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? Anybody can do anything as anyone who is professional in anything in this world, right? So in this society, anybody can be anybody. Yeah? Anybody can do anything with claiming that anything is their profession. So I think it is fair for everybody to share everything as raw as possible. I have I have popped in and out of the streams for over a year now, and it's always a good time. Thank you. Watching your hands showed me how to use my thimble appropriately. That's good. And thank you for comment. Sometimes I think it's better to listen. Yeah, I was just mumbling, so. Well, I enjoy the mumbling, but at the same time, I feel a little sort of question myself if I was actually doing something, if I made myself sort of understandable. I understand that I'm very much talking about something very ambivalent, so it does not probably make sense. But at the same time, I wish that I could do better. I just don't know how. So, for example, not for example, let me see what I can say. So, few years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I did not know anybody who used this thimble on the internet or like on the surface of Sashiko. Probably there are many Japanese teachers or Japanese Sashiko practitioners who use this thimble, but since many Japanese came to me to learn how to use this thimble, it was not so common. At least it was not available in public to refer to. Now a lot of people use this thimble, which is very good for me. I kept saying last 4 years that please copy. I want you to copy. So please copy it if you can, and then yeah, copy it. that'd be great if you could support me by taking the class or workshop, but that's more like surplus. If you don't have that, I don't want to filter who can learn based on what they have or what they don't have. Since Sashiko was the ordinary practice, I do not want to limit who can learn based on how much they can afford. At the same time, I have to make my ends meet, so I have to make it sort of the economical circulation. But this is the sort of my answer conclusion that anybody can learn by watching it, and I want you to copy it. I keep saying that, but the problem is that if you or anybody want to teach Sashiko based on what you or they copied by watching this, then they have a responsibility to either refer my name so that their student can come to me to listen to this story, or offer the same amount of stories, because the way, the technique, or even the posture, or the idea of how to use this thimble is just the start of the Sashiko stitching. Start and not the end. And if the teacher misunderstands, if there's somebody who teach, or if somebody who spread Sashiko, what Sashiko is, misunderstand the core of essence, no matter how good they can use this thimble, something will be lost. And if they refer my account or what I'm sharing, the student who are very much willing to learn Sashiko can fulfill that gap by themselves. I mean, the easiest way is take my workshop so I can see you, I can meet you, I can meet them in person and just make sure that. But at the same time, it can be done by listening to my stories or reading almost every day's post. So it's doable. Just if they do not do that, then the student will just understand the technique. And that's really scary. That's a really scary thing. Always like that I'm not edited and real time is excellent for teaching. Yep. Listening. That's very appreciated. So yeah, the copying is very important. And as long as you're just enjoying for yourself, there's nothing else you gotta do. Just copy it and enjoy it. And that's my dream come true. My goal is to make sure that this Sashiko stitching will be not left alone. It will be passed down. So if they can use the thimble and then talk about Sashiko as they are more than what they could know, that's a really good goal. But yeah, for years, like there was a Japanese person who kind of mentioned that how popular this thimble became in comparison to 2017 or 16. I'm not saying nobody was using this thimble before. People were using it, but that's how the Sashiko changed over the last 4 years, or even 5 years, I guess, for that. And it's interesting, but nobody from my workshop or my class is teaching Sashiko, although I often encourage them to do it. But as long as I know, they do not teach Sashiko, so it is so interesting how the world goes. Why is this thread kind of thinner? Wow. Yeah, this is the Sashiko Live Streaming where I do everything without editing. And I do not do anything specific over the camera. The Sashiko stitching itself is very much everyday stitching. So if you can bring something to stitch with, or even knit with, or do crafting, that'd be really good. It's gonna achieve my purpose of this live streaming, as I would like to share the time and place together to make the place for us to be together. So the beginning of this YouTube channel, which is about 5 years ago, I guess, it has been like, wow, that much. I made this YouTube channel to advertise my workshop in New York. Back then, I did not know what to teach. I was teaching the exactly same thing in a little bit different way, but now it became like a place for us to stitch together. That's awesome. I did not expect to make it happen, but it was the way to advertise what I do. Now it became a place for us to pass down the culture. It's like, visiting your grandma or grandpa's house every week and listening to their stories. Some of them might be interesting, probably more than half of them might be boring, but there's always something different from our standard. I think that's how culture is passed down, not by some of the, expert, or not by somebody who is very genius. It's just the ordinary practice of doing it and talking about it, sharing time together. And I think what we do should be like that, not more than that. I cannot believe I'm gonna fly to Arizona 5 days from now. Wow. Is anybody from Arizona or that area? It is like 70 or 80 now, degree wise. I am gonna destroy myself. That's crazy. I went to Florida and it was like 70. I came back to the Pennsylvania and that day was 0. 0. And then now a little bit warmer, but like 32, 33, 34. And then I'm gonna go to what, 70 something again. Oy oy. But it's gonna be really fun. Well, fun is a little too much. I'm sorry. I'm not. It is gonna be fun, but it should be fun to those who take my workshop. So the new friends, it's gonna be fun and also very busy week, tiring for that matter. What are you doing in Arizona? No humidity, village dry. Our winter is over. Winter is over. And I think the definition of the winter between us is pretty different, so I cannot wait. Winter. I think your winter is like, what, 60 degrees or something like that? Yes, the quilt, I will be in Phoenix this coming Wednesday, 16th, for the QuiltCon offered by Modern Quilt Guild, MQG. And I'm one of the faculty, so I will be in downtown Phoenix, and it's quite exciting. It's not done yet. It's coming. Hey. So it's coming in 5 days. That's why I cannot do the live streaming next week, because I'm gonna be in the QuiltCon. I won't be teaching at this time, but I have to, be resting for that. It was very good in the first, this is my second time. The first time was in 2010, and that was very good experience in Texas Austin. And I could not join the online QuiltCon last year because I do already have the online platform, and I did not want to confuse anybody. And it is probably difficult to do online with, that many people. So it is really exciting. And this is kind of officially the first time I offered something kind of next to the, well, not officially. So I used to have the many kinds of Sashiko workshop. Not a many kind, but there's like a core and essence, like very basic, that I like everybody to get it. And I once taught how to do the mending. There's a hitomezashi workshop, which I do not offer anymore. But there were many before COVID, of course. Before COVID, I have several options, but I stopped doing that. But now I am trying to kind of, it's not advanced. Many people misunderstood it. Like, if I offer that two workshop and one is the basic or core, they automatically believe that the second workshop is the advanced version of the workshop, and they really want to take this advanced version. They kind of minimize this, basic. And I had several cases that they were very unhappy that they were experiencing Sashiko and why they have to take this basic one first and then, do the application one. But to be honest, everything I teach is inside of this core and essence class. So technically speaking, nobody don't have to take this application practice class. It's more like the workshop that I share the recipe of making something with the technique that I share in the previous cooking class. But since I receive a lot of requests to make it online too, I'm working on it. I don't know how long it's gonna take. It took 2 years to make the basic online class, so it might take another 2 years too, but ideally, hopefully I can make it happen in the summer. But yeah, it's the first time that I will have that kind of workshopping person. Exciting and scary for that matter. Little scary. Little bit scary. But I will enjoy. I'll do my best. And when I say I'll do my best, I really do my best. So it's not like the figure of speech. if this was happening in Japan and in Japanese, I probably would say that if you live in Phoenix, let's meet up. You know, I don't have to worry about a lot of things in Japanese in Japan. So I would say like, let's meet up, let's meet up. Probably not. I will probably revise everything after a night workshop, and I have 3 days workshop, 3 days each, 1 day workshop, but at the end of the last day, that's technically the time I can relax, but I don't think I have any energy left. You have to crawl before you can walk. Yeah. I might like I'm suffering because I know I have to crawl, but I'm trying to run. That's how stupid I can be. So, crawling, walking, running, that's my kind of condition, which can be excused. It's not so important from the participant perspective. So I feel that I want to make it sort of perfect. I am the probably biggest perfectionist in this area. I mean, this live streaming. Sashiko is not really good for the perfectionist, but I am one of those. So when it comes to that, scary. But I will take. I don't know if I can take photos, but I will try my best to take photos. This is a figure of speech. This I will try my best is a figure of speech, so it's not probably gonna happen. But I will do my best to take photos. I would absolutely believe that an American audience wouldn't be satisfied with a great core of curriculum and what advancement instead. It's so nice out. You'll probably take a nice little desert walk. It's beautiful in Phoenix where the QuiltCon will be. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Probably I won't go anywhere. It's gonna be between the hotel and the convention center. It was like that in Austin, so I expect the same in Phoenix, but it'll be nice. It'll be nice. Yeah, but it's kind of. I understand that people want to try the advanced one, but as a Japanese, I kind of got trained very strongly that the basic is the most important thing. The basic is like a form. We call it kata. Everything has the form kata, and without learning that basic or even the most important form, one cannot go advance or cannot learn more. I think part of my families are the sword fighting, kendo, sword fighting martial art is also part of my family tradition, not a tradition, family heritage. That probably affect my brain too, but it is interesting to see. Advanced doesn't mean better, in my understanding. I mean, it's good to go advanced, which I don't offer. By the way, it's the misunderstanding. I do not offer any advanced class, but I understand that it's many people wants to go to advanced. But advanced is not always the better solution. For those people who wants to go into advanced class instead of starting with the introductory class. So it was not for me. Sorry, there was a big misunderstanding. Yes. I thought I had to crawl. Yes. Well, I have to crawl too. It is true, yeah. But I think some of them think that they can walk. They are running. They think they are running. That's why they don't want to take the, you know, basic. Well, I was. It's my mistake. It's my fault too. I used to name it basic and what did basic and core? I guess I named it basic and core. Therefore, many people misunderstood that that's the basic Sashiko class. In fact, it's not was not the basic. It's the everything that I can teach. That's why many people had a very difficult time to learn it. They were happy after that, but you know, it's more like that's gonna be a good example. Me, my English ability does not make my Spanish better. I mean, English and Spanish are sort of common, right? Probably that's not a good example, but some people may be able to speak Spanish without learning the basic. But no matter how good they speak English, usually taking the basic Spanish class is important. Now, probably that's not a good example. I understand they can do one thing good, but that's probably not. I'm not probably teaching what they are thinking what it should be. So that's a little. Well, people here are very kind and very, understanding. So, you probably, the comment wise, you agree how important the basic is. But no, no, not this society. As long as I know, no. They get quite aggressive when it comes to that. Some people get upset. How could you judge me that I'm not? Like, she was very upset that I judge her that she's a beginner in Sashiko. I don't know her. I don't know her and I don't know her stitching. I have never seen her work, but she was very upset when I asked her to take the uh, well, that's my fault because I named it basic. And when I asked her to take that basic class, she was quite upset. I I'm pretty sure that she is a beginner in my teaching because la la. Sorry, fix it. Come on. It's coincidence. It can be a coincidence, but after teaching to more than almost 500, even probably 600 people, I haven't met anybody who complained after the workshop that they knew everything I taught. So, I mean, of course, the people who think they know what I teach will not take my class. So it's understandable that I do not come across those people, but probably not. I am not sure when you'll be in Arizona. I'm in San Diego, CA, and the forecast for both is low 80s until the 15th and lower after that. Lower after that. I'll be in Arizona from 16th to 20th. So lower good. Lower is good. 80 is almost summer here. Not almost. It's this summer in the Pennsylvania, so that's a little too much. Too much tomorrow. I will probably destroy my what do you call it? Ah, come on, Japanese. I know what it is in Japanese. My balance. I hadn't seen Sashiko until you, and I've seen it other places without any reverence for the skill, the art, motion. It's empty just for decoration, no culture to it. Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. Sashiko became the art, right? And it's perfectly fine. But I do not consider Sashiko as the art. I I humbly accept your appraisal that I am the artist or the what we make is the art. We accept that, and I appreciate it. But honestly speaking, I do not consider Sashiko as the art. And when Sashiko is introduced as the art, the people who advocate, let's say, like, embracing the imperfection or enjoying the result, rice grain size, or make these beautiful patterns, make it, cute patterns. Those are part of Sashiko, of course, but it is not the whole picture, and it's kind of westernized for that matter. In Western culture, it is very true that controlling the needle, I mean, making the beautiful result is the justice. That's the skill, that's the talent, that's how good you are. And I understand it. That's how the English or Western culture would translate Sashiko naturally. And it is our Japanese fault that nobody spoke up when it happened. But that does not explain the whole picture because Sashiko is not about result much. It is about the result, but without the story connected to the result, it does not make sense. Like, oh, Sashiko is beautiful is a true statement, but that's a little shallow. So, it's good to be shallow. We have a choice to be shallow, so that's perfectly good. Like it's a good thing that we can only focus on the result, and we enjoy the result is a beautifully great thing. But no one should describe it one part of Sashiko as the whole picture of Sashiko. If they talk about only the art as the Sashiko as the art, that's perfectly understandable. But oh, so many comments. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just. I can stitch while talking. I can stitch while watching The Office on Netflix or something like. I don't. There's no Office on Netflix anymore. I can watch. I can watch Prison Break on the Hulu, whatever. I can do that, but I cannot stitch while reading. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop stitching and read it. Um, I it is beautiful, so I understand the appeal, but it gets watered down. It seems watered down. Yes, watered down is a good way to say it. At the same time, it's like filtered. Eating pizza without cheese. Like, there's a pizza, right? Put the cheese aside because it looks a little bit yellowish. It's good. It's good. Pizza itself is good without cheese, but they're missing the most delicious part of the pizza. That's how I feel like. Come on, please eat that cheese. Maybe. Hello, Helen. Maybe the first class should be called Introduction to the Culture and Practice of Sashiko. Probably. But if I say introduction, they expect me to do more, right? It's not an introduction, it's the core and essence, and it's pretty much you know that it's pretty much completed, right? It's the end of my teaching. I have nothing more to teach much. It's more than it's more than art. That's what I appreciate about your business. Thank you. Yes. What Sashiko as the art is another topic that I have to do probably many live streaming, but we have to start this discussion by defining what art is, so it's very difficult. so many new patterns that I don't think would ever have been practiced since thread was premium item. Trying my hand at embroidery on silk. Thank you. Yep. Please watch this while practicing it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing those new Sashiko or westernized Sashiko. I have no problem with that. I know I stitch from the back side of the fabric. I don't make knot. You know, there are many people who do not agree with me. Some people say that Sashiko is about, some people stitch from the front side of the fabric. Some people make knot. That's perfectly fine. That's part of Sashiko. I just don't want them to define that as the whole Sashiko. Because there are people who is stitching from the backside. There are people like me who is not making knot. So saying that Sashiko makes knot itself is very much filtering the culture, not appropriating, filtering or skimming. And that's really scary. I probably often talk about it, but there's a big difference between can't and don't. So if one say that I do not make, let's say I do not stitch from the back side because I like it stitching from the front side, is a good statement. I have no problem with that. But if one say that I cannot stitch, I don't stitch from the back side because I cannot stitch from the back side, is a completely different level. Can't. I don't want the culture to be different based on somebody's can't. That's one thing I probably can summarize it today. Art is so really broad and multi-faced, but the pizza without cheese is just bread. That's another thing. There are. I was kind of talking about a pizza without cheese, but that can be pizza in Italian culture. So I was wrong in that analogy. I said exactly the same thing. Pizza without cheese is not pizza. But it seems like there's a pizza without cheese. So not knowing is okay. But when I learned that there's a pizza without cheese in Italy, I should not, repeat that. I should acknowledge it. Acknowledge is the word I often use. Because, if the pizza is Italian culture, which I think it is, we shouldn't ignore that. You have always voiced pleasure at people being interested in Sashiko and encourage it. You have always been about the whole of Sashiko. Thank you. I try. I try to be. But I think I can do this because I know that I cannot be the whole of Sashiko. I'm pretty clear. I'm very confident to know, to understand what I can do and what I cannot do. So that's why probably my approach is, well, I don't even think like that actually. It's not even strategy. What I don't know is what I don't know what I don't know, right? I know what I don't know, so I cannot teach. I'm married to the Israeli person, but I will never talk about Jewish culture or Jewish practice. Although I married to Jewish people and I'm experiencing it pretty much every single day, I don't know what I don't know. I literally don't know what I don't know. So probably I probably can make it up if I decided to teach, let's say, Jewish culture in Japan, since not many Japanese people are kind of understanding Jewish culture. I probably can make a lot of point. But since I don't know what I don't know, it's kind of scary to talk on behalf. That's probably my point. But so, like, I want you to. I don't want you. Be careful. Be careful to listen to. I don't want you to trust me only too. I don't want you to trust what I say only. What I say is very much true, and I want you to listen. I want you to actually trust me what I'm saying. At the same time, I don't want you to close your ears to anybody else around. Like, listen everybody around and then decide what is most comfortable, most not comfortable, most comprehensive, or well, natural to you. Well, but there's a really good way to check that. Just ask them. Just ask, not them, ask yourself or ask the book or ask whatever teaching, why. If they can offer the answer to why, then that can be very comprehensive. Like, all of my saying has almost always the reason behind it, I think. I have not checked every single statement, but I believe that everything I say has a reason behind it. Everything I do has also a reason behind it. So, thank you for sharing your knowledge. It changes our view on thread and brilliant. So, thank you. Thank you. That's how I would like to pass down Sashiko. It does not have to be by Japanese, or it does not have to be by, very traditional form. But I don't want to lose that kind of most important part of Sashiko by just how it looks, design, or outcome. It is very important. Those are very important part of Sashiko, but that does not communicate the whole. When you think you know it all, you don't know nothing at all. Yep. Somebody said that, right? That some philosopher said that. But that's probably the first step, to understand, to know what you don't know. To know what I don't know is the pretty good start to in teaching. There are two kind of things in teaching. One is navigating, directing. Like, school teachers are good in navigating. Like, not good. They are expert in navigating kids to the specific area. So they are more like generalist. What I'm doing is more like expert, right? Like, so I don't direct people to specific. Like, I'm not gonna direct you to enjoy another embroidery because I cannot teach that. But I know what I can do, and if one is teaching in the expert area, they have to know what they don't know. If they have to know what they don't, yeah. English is so difficult. That sounds like a teacher to me, encouraging others to make up their own mind. Yep. It's my honest feeling. Don't let define, like, you can call like, anybody can call their stitching Sashiko if they want to. They don't have to even say inspired. Like, the inspired doesn't excuse anybody from, doing it. If so, I want them to call it Sashiko if they want to. But I want them to find their own Sashiko instead of believing somebody who does not even speak Japanese. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why do they trust somebody's easy definition so easily if they want to use that cultural term? Does not make sense. I mean, there are people. There was a very nice, I think I can call him dude, but he was really nice. And I asked him, like, why do you use the word Sashiko? And he told me, like, well, it sells well. That's a perfect answer. There's nothing I can say more, and I'm 100% happy about it. It's really simple, right? Um, I asked him, why do you use the word Sashiko? And his answer is, well, it sells well. That's perfect. I mean, some people might have a problem with that, but I am okay with it because that's very straightforward. And he will stop using the word Sashiko when it is not trend. If some other word became trend, he's gonna leave Sashiko alone. The problem doesn't exist there. The problem is those who think they know about Sashiko kind of twisting what it is. So that's the scary part. So yeah, please. It's gonna be a lot. I don't even know what Sashiko really is at this moment. I can share my understanding based on my experience and wisdom at this moment, and I think it's very. I know. I don't even think it is accurate for me. But I just want you to enjoy the stitching while imagining how your ancestors, like the people without choice, it does not have to be Japanese people, but you can get information how Sashiko was developed. It was the stitching form in Japan for those who could not afford the fabric so easily. So you can imagine that. What if your family member, let's say 200 years ago, couldn't afford the fabric? How they would stitch, how would they appreciate it? Those are gonna probably help. Not probably. Those are gonna help you to understand what Sashiko is more than those little gaps. By understanding Japanese culture mindset, it's gonna fulfill. So I'm not asking anybody to be a perfect master of Japanese culture to enjoy Sashiko. They don't have to be fluent. I just want them to imagine while stitching. The worst case scenario, the worst case, which was me. I was like that. Worst case the worst case scenario is probably the business person who think they know what Sashiko is, but they don't stitch. Like me in 20s, I could stitch, but I did not enjoy stitching. But I was in business, Sashiko business. I believe that one doesn't have to have a Sashiko skill to do the Sashiko business. It's probably true in terms of finance and everything. But if you want to do finance, probably you shouldn't do the in Sashiko business. So, the go to bank or stuff like that. So, it's good to know who, I'm laughing because if what I say, if I keep sharing those stories online without stitching, and if I cannot stitch, that doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't really. My word does not have that much credential because I stitch, because I share. My word makes sense a little more. I totally forgot I subscribed to this live stream. I'm doing my very first Sashiko sewing tonight and came to play music and found this. Thank you. I try to do every Thursday night, so not this time only. I tried to make it more periodic, repetitive. Not next week, but after that, restarting from the end of the February, I will do the every Thursday, almost every Thursday live streaming. Whew. Wow, hour of stitching and talking. Another 20 minutes or so I will stop. So if you have any questions, if you have any request about request for me to talk about Sashiko, please let me know. If you're watching this as the archive, please leave the comments so I can catch up with that later. Sorry. I will show the front of this toward the end. You might wonder, why is he only stitching this pattern? The reason I stitch only this pattern is because I'm on live streaming. As much as I enjoy stitching while doing something, I have to focus on my statement. Since it is live streaming, I cannot say something stupid. I cannot, I cannot trash talk here. And this is my second language, so I'm using almost all of my brain activities to my talking. That's why that's why I have to sometimes stop stitching. So if I have to stitch with a little bit of attention, let's say I do some patterns that I require a little bit more attention, then I cannot talk, and that would be a little bit sad live streaming. So, and also I'm not really. That'd be great if I can get a good result, but it doesn't not really. Pattern doesn't matter at some point, but it's not like if it doesn't. It's even okay to stitch like the straight line, but that's a little too much. So this pattern, I don't really have to think about anything. It's auto-titled, so that's why I stitch only this pattern. But I can see I have here, this one is something I was doing. It's more like a sample for the workshop, but probably you have a favorite vegetable to cut, don't you? Like, the onion, green onion, cucumber, zucchinis. Everybody should have some vegetable to cut without thinking. When you cut, let's say, pumpkin, you have to be a little more careful, right? When you cut watermelon, you have to be a little more careful. That's the kind of difference I'm talking about. And this pattern is something I don't have to talk. I don't have to do anything. I don't do anything. I don't have to think at all. But yeah, there are a lot of videos that I stitch in different patterns, so please take a look. This pattern sort of balance me before they stressful. Not stressful. I'm sorry, it's not a stressful. Well, it is stressful before the kind of pressure. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. A lot of fabric. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then I get quiet, right? No, 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 I don't have to be quiet. I think I just got tired of talking. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming. せやな。ちょっと待って。竹の布はめんどくさいな。Sorry, I started talking in Japanese because I did not think about this bulkiness. I knew it, but I wasn't thinking much. I think this pattern, we call it Asanoho pattern. This pattern, this pattern is the pattern I don't have to use my brain at all. Is probably the the easiest pattern to stitch for some people, and probably the best pattern to learn what Sashiko is. I always use this pattern for my workshop, but there are a lot of things that I can share. We can learn from this pattern. So it's probably good to start with this Asanoho pattern if you are really new to this. Okay, one more thread. Okay. なるとだな。ちょっと待ってくださいね。Well, thank you so much for the contribution via comment. When I get a comment, the live streaming get more energetic. So I really appreciate it. After all, I don't know what I should talk. Since it's kind of ordinary things, including what I'm doing right now. I don't know what the people want to know, so it's always nice to have a thoughtful question. I mean, this is social media, so it can be sometimes pretty rude. Like, tell me what Sashiko is. In the live streaming, in the live streaming explaining how difficult it is to give the answer to what Sashiko is, some people ask what Sashiko is. I mean, those questions I probably won't answer well, but if it's well thought question, or even like not even well thought, like mindful question, I'm very much happy to answer that. Then we have to talk what mindful is, but well, let's see. I don't get angry. Like, I don't know why some people think that I'm like a short temper, but I don't really get angry right away. So don't worry about too much. Do I? No, I don't think so. Can you only do Sashiko on smooth fabric? I don't think so. Oops. What is the smooth definition of smooth? No, fabric is not so important. I mean, of course, we have a lot of preference. The Japanese woven cotton is very good, and denim is good. But fabric does not really matter, so it doesn't have to be smooth. I mean, I cannot stitch on the rock because, you know, needle does not go through. I don't think I can stitch through leather unless it's like a thing fake leather. But thread thread is the most important thing. Thread does matter. By using a good thread, Sashiko result becomes much different. The Sashiko, what I do, if my Sashiko looks better, 50, 60, 80% of that difference is because of the thread, not because of stitch. That's how good Sashiko thread is. Okay, I feel so stupid. I had no idea that you sew from the back. No, you're not stupid. There are several Sashiko in Japan, and some Sashiko stitch from the front side. And I can stitch from the front side as well, and sometimes do, but mostly our Sashiko we stitch from the back side. And we have a stories for that, but it's gonna be pretty long, so I'm not gonna probably share right now. But yeah, we do stitch from the back side. Again, like, you know, I want them to be able to do both. It's not like a right or wrong. I'm not gonna say like stitching from the front is wrong. It's not wrong too. It's just different, and I want you to be able to do both. Oh, come on. Sorry. Just a second. It got stuck. So this is we call mistake. Got stuck, so I have to take it out. Just a second. So many threads. So Ali. Here, right? Just a second. Here, just a second. Here. Yeah, I have to take it all of it. Oopsie. Really? Did I have to take all of it? Oh my. Sorry, there's a little bit mistake. Is there a difference between visible mending and pattern sewing? Wow, that's a really... Let me think. Let me think if I understand your question first. Oh, just. Oh, the thread brand is. There's not. Check my website. It should be on the description area. We use our Sashiko thread specifically, and we almost only recommend that Sashiko thread. The Sashiko thread brand, the Sashiko thread we use is in the description area, or just go to upcyclestitches.com, which is my website, and they have the selection of colors and natural dye and stuff. I know that you are correct about the thread being the most important part. I bought some Nazca thread and it was really difficult to work with. Yeah, Nazca is kind of the good end though. Nazca is not the horrible end, yet it is difficult. I mean, I agree with you, but there are a lot of needles, not needle, a lot of thread that it's very difficult to. There's a Japanese saying that, true master doesn't choose the tool, but I kind of do. And everybody around me do. Think about it, like, so many artisans over almost 50 years wanted one specific Sashiko thread, and this is it. Of course it's good. It's based on the artisan's opinion and continuous improvement, which is pretty much complaints to the thread manufacturer how to make it. Of course it's good. Is there a difference between visible mending and pattern sewing in Sashiko? I think I recommend you to go to my website, or even there should be a link on this description, the Instagram account. I want you to read some of the, well, not some, as many articles as possible there. Probably you're misunderstanding a lot about Sashiko. So I think I understand your question, but I don't have the answer to your question because it's kind of different page, or even different book. Like, we sometimes say we are not on the same page, but we are not even on the same book with your understanding. So, and it's not your fault. I'm not judging you. I'm not criticizing you. It's just because of the information you could reach to, and it's the sort of responsibility of those who wrote the article about or book about. But unfortunately, your understanding is probably insufficient, not inaccurate, insufficient to even, like, if I say Sashiko is not the word for visible mending, it is not. It does not probably make sense to you. So that's probably the beginning. Why Sashiko is not, understanding why Sashiko is not a visible mending is probably a good beginning. So, and again, it's not, it's not the reader's fault. It's the responsibility of our side, the people who share those culture or publish. And therefore I have a lot of free information on Instagram, my website. So it'd be great if you could read some of those. Then probably you will get the answer by yourself. Visible mending is different. Yeah, probably my answer will not make sense. Is there a difference between visible mending and pattern sewing in Sashiko? Yes. But the difference is not probably what you think. Okay. So I think it's about time. Whoa, 10:30 and a half. So this is the Sashiko live streaming. I try to do every Thursday night for about 90 minutes. 60 minutes, 90 minutes. Sometimes they might go 120 minutes, but less than 2 hours. And I hope you can bring something to stitch with next time so we can stitch together. I ask you to write a comment, so it's really not, I'm ruining the whole purpose. But I just wanna, it is my goal to share some time together. I will share the front side of this. Just a second, okay. So, what was I gonna say? Yes, so not next Thursday. Next Thursday I will be in Phoenix, so I won't be able to do the live streaming, but usually almost every Thursday night I would like to share what Sashiko is while stitching Sashiko. And this is the work I am doing right now, so I hope you can see this. If I do it, I cannot see it. So the center part is the thing where I completed the pattern today. And this is like a carton of, I don't know how long. Maybe this one measured, but I don't. Probably 3 meters. Wait, am I covering the mic? No. So yeah, it will be like this much Sashiko. Oh yeah. Sorry, this. And since I do this one every, sorry. Since I do this stitching, this pattern on live streaming only, you can probably check all of the process by watching the Sashiko live streaming. It's probably 6 or 7 hours. No, I haven't counted it. I have not counted it yet, but probably about 7 hours ish. Then this much stitching. So Sashiko stitching can be very fast, and the result can be even. But in order to do it, the form is pretty important. I hope you can learn from watching the live streaming, and if you can have a little surplus in your life, or if you can support me for that, please consider taking the online Sashiko class or in-person workshop. In-person workshop, I have no further plan after the QuiltCon. It really depends on the COVID situation, but I am pretty confident about the online class as well. I can offer the whole package, whole experience over online too. Comment, thank you so much. Thank you. I will join again in a few weeks. I just visited your website. It looks great. I'm going to go back tonight and spend time on your upcycle page. Thank you. I'm not really a good I don't program well. I'm not a good, engineer type people. So my website is very minimum. The website is absolutely, great resources. At the same time, this YouTube channel has the Sashiko story, not a Sashiko story. Yeah, Sashiko story. This is like a playlist of Sashiko story. It explains a lot of things in the shorter time. This one is the 90 minutes live streaming. But there's like 10 minute segment of 10 minutes videos of each topics in the Sashiko story. I think I call Sashiko story. Sashiko story playlist. That might be more helpful. That might be easier to understand, because the upcyclestitches.com became really overwhelming. I cannot even find the article that I want to look up. Instagram is great, but that does not sort. It's not a comprehensive. So if you follow it for a year or so, you probably get a good sense of what I'm trying to say, but it's not a comprehensive, so it might be difficult to start with. But I want to be there too. So yeah, the Instagram website and then YouTube, by following those, I believe that one can kind of grasp the big, vague figure of what Sashiko is. The online class is really good. Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much. And I say that what I do is the beginning of Sashiko, which I really mean that. I cannot teach after what I teach, but I can be there for you after you learn that. So, yep, that'd be great if you could consider that. I was gonna say something from the beginning. Anyway, I'm sorry, I cannot think about. It's like, you know, getting old. It's like short-term memory loss. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on next Wednesdays after this coming Wednesday. All right. Have a good night. Bye bye.